Hi. I attempted to talk about this topic a couple of days ago and found out that I had no sound. So I'm hoping that we have sound now, and I would love for anyone to jump on and confirm that for me if we can, so that I'm not talking to no one once again. But I wanted to pop in and talk about why parenting for our times is different. It's different to how it was when we were younger and when our parents were younger. And a lot of it has to do with the sensory demands that are placed on children today. And that's not just in terms of screens and the proliferation of screens. It's about the constancy and demands of modern life. You know, the way that parents and we live our lives today. You know, we're kind of busy, we're on the go all of the time, so often. And the external stimuli is big. As adults, we can kind of forget how much we've learned to filter what comes into our world. But for children, they're so wide open that the sensory processing challenges that they can have are simply because they cannot cope with the amount of input into their brain, the input into their nervous system. And so, you know, that comes out in inability to communicate effectively. It comes out in behavioural challenges. It comes out in literacy and numeracy difficulties. It comes out in all of these different ways, and so much of it is to do with, you know, the environment. And what we're not told as parents is that, you know, our children are learning how to integrate their world, how to assimilate the onslaught of stuff that comes into their system and into their brain through how we do that for ourselves. Because if they don't yet have the template, like the brain kind of template for what that looks like, they're looking to the people around them to find that template, to find that example of, oh, that's how I deal with that pressure, or that's how I deal with that particular interaction, or that's how I deal with that relationship, or that thing that I'm confronted with. They're patterning with us, which is challenging because in parenting we are taken back to our own patterning, which may or may not have been healthy for us, you know, and given us tools to work through and face challenge and integrate challenge and find the resilience that comes on the other side of being able to face that. So often we go into fight or flight when we don't have a way to assimilate the input and the sensory stuff that's coming into our world. And so if we don't have a place to put that or a way to move that through our bodies, we tend to want to shut it down and make it go away. And that is why so many of the edges that we find ourselves as parents involves us finding our ways to open into those challenges, finding our ways to open into what our children bring us that is challenging, so that we can pave a new pathway for us in our relationship with them, but also in what that gives them as a template for moving into other relationships in the world. Because I really believe, and Jules and I talk about this all the time, that it's the quality of our relationships that determines the quality of our lives. Because everything comes down to how effectively we communicate and relate to others. And, you know, the family unit and whatever that looks like for you is such an incredible, you know, microcosm, I suppose, of society, because it, you know, you have differences of opinion, you have different values you have to negotiate, you have challenges you have to work through, you have, you know, learning patience, you have learning sharing, you have all of these things that are the microcosm of the society in which our children grow up in. And so the family environment provides the perfect mechanism for our growth. You know, we talk about, you know, marriage is not about being happy. It's not about, you know, having this constant, beautiful experience all the time. It's for the purposes of growing ourselves. And sometimes that is, you know, wild and amazing and filling our hearts with love. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable. You know, sometimes it's, you know, we want to almost shut it down. We want to move away from that pain. And motherhood is no different. Parenting is no different. But it's how we keep coming back to our center in that gives us the courage and the toolkit to be able to move into the pain, to be able to keep seeing what our children are bringing us and going, oh, that feels really hard for me and I just want to shut it down, or I know how I want to react, but I am going to choose to move with that energy as opposed to want to escape it. And I think that's a little bit like birth too. We can see that, our contractions are not stronger than us, they are us. Our children are not stronger than us, they are us. They're a part of us that we are calling in to learn to relate better to. They're a part of us that we're saying, oh, come, this is part of you too, make this okay, make this inner child of you okay, and then we can have a really lovely relationship too. It's that dynamic that our children are constantly creating with us so that we each grow. And this kind of view of things takes it well beyond, these really well-meaning books that you can read around conscious parenting, which talks about the right way to speak to a child or the right way to understand them and the best way to use your tone of voice and all of this kind of stuff. That all of that's well-meaning, but if you don't have a framework for how to move into that and how to recognize the dynamic at play, because it's so much richer and more complex than simply just a set of tools that you do with your child, because it's a tool that you use with yourself and your child in dynamic that creates the expansion and it creates the incredible richness of motherhood, I think, and creates the desire within us as women to want to be immersed in motherhood as opposed to feeling like it's hard all the time or feeling like it's something that is not worthy of our investment in time and our energy, and all of it that it takes from us. And so having this kind of awareness of, what parenting is today, because it's, we invest more because we know more, right? Like, people listen to our podcast because they're wanting an intentional journey. They're wanting to move into what could my relationship with my kids be like? What could my relationship with myself as a mother be like if I was able to open up to all of the possibilities that I am? Because that's what motherhood is doing for us. It's growing us and it's showing us who we can be and making more safe, more parts of ourselves that we see through our children. And in turn, the more that we integrate that for ourselves, the more that we learn to modulate those feelings in our bodies and work with our nervous systems, the more we give our kids an incredible blueprint to stay connected in a culture that is increasingly want to keeping us in our heads. As soon as you put your kids into school, there's a huge focus on, literacy and numeracy and learning and intelligence and cleverness and smartness, which is sort of this kind of stuff. And to really stay here and to allow them to stay connected to their bodies, we want them to know what embodiment looks like. And emotional intelligence is born in the connection between our brains and our bodies. And children, they do everything through their bodies. That's how they feel and sense the world. And so much of what we want to label as misbehavior is often children trying to regulate the incredible sensory input, whether that's someone getting angry with them, whether that's them feeling uncomfortable on the playground, whether that's feeling overwhelmed in a busy environment and they're getting more and more crazy in their body as a way to deal with what that feels like for them. So it's actually really healthy, and that this illusion of having a calm child or a child that's practicing mindfulness or meditation as this ultimate goal, I think we need to make more safe what dysregulation looks like and what it looks like for children to really be in their bodies, because the key to resilience is getting dysregulated and coming back again, disintegrating in your parts of yourself and integrating again, because that then means that that whatever you face, yes, you're going to break apart and you'll have challenge, but your way back again. I saw a stat today in an article was saying that 62% of GP visits are for mental health issues. So we've got as adults, we still don't know how to deal with so much of what's going on for us. We're trying to make sense of feelings in our bodies. And that comes from so many factors, but one of those I'm sure is we've been narrowing what is safe for us to experience and feel. And we have all of these often dark feelings and we don't know where to put those and how to be with all of ourselves. And I think our children are trying to teach us what that looks like. And for us, it's about how do we find our way to be okay with all of that and move it in a way that is constructive for in our lives and in alignment with our values, and helping us come back again to our place of balance, knowing that we can't avoid challenge, we can't avoid being triggered by things and by our kids. And to the more that we try to be kind and calm and zen and do better next time, the more we push down the parts of ourselves that are seeking to be heard. Hi Sam, hi Liza. So I guess I really want to have that conversation about why parenting is different now, because the demands on our psyche, on our bodies, on our lives are different. They're different than they were, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We're moving into a different era of childhood where it's not hours and hours and hours out playing. And yes, that is where children regulate. That is where nature is, where children have felt connected to themselves. It's where we're told to go back to when we're feeling out of control. We all know what it feels like to take your socks off or your shoes off and walk around on the grass, and to feel the feeling of the grass touching your feet. That pulls us back into our bodies when we spend our lives in our heads. And so there's so many ways that we can do that actively and mindfully in our day. And I think it's how do we find that sense of safety for children to know what their way back to balance is, and help them to develop that recipe for that carries them throughout their lives, because they're patterning themselves on us and on how well they see us come back into ourselves when we live in a world that increasingly wants to make us something else. So that's what I wanted to say tonight. And of course, we're jumping into our Line Parenting live round tomorrow. There's still time to sign up for that, so I'll drop the link in the comments below. But yeah, we love this work because it's about, not just about your child, it's about us. We're always in dynamic with our children. They're always helping us grow, as are we helping them. And I think it's a really beautiful thing to be able to move authentically into what that path looks like for you and your child and your family unit, and understanding the broader family dynamics that are at play that mean that no matter what your family looks like, you're always going to have a conservation of support and challenge within that family. And that the more you try to chase harmony or peace, the more war is created within a family, because we need, a little bit of both so that we all grow. And of course, with better techniques and with more effective desires for communication, we do that in a way that is meaningful for everybody and respectful of everybody. But ultimately, we can't chase trying to escape the challenge and the growth that is family. Family is one of the richest ways to grow and to experience the love in our lives. And so when we can find the beauty in that and continually coming back to what our values are, it's enormously powerful. Anyway, thanks to those who are watching, and we'll talk soon. Have a great night.